Hi everybody. It's time for our question answering session. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm Amy Parsons and I am the owner of Amy Speaks Dog, where we specialize in helping owners get the best possible relationship they can have with their dog by learning a little bit of dog language and learning to talk to them in a little bit more symbiotic way, so that you guys can have a different level of relationship than most dog owners. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with all of our videos and our soon-to-come training classes. So thanks for tuning in. So tonight, let's get to our questions. So the first question we had was from Josie from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And she said, the doorbell's ringing. And when I say doorbell, I mean the dogs are barking. Josie wants to know, hey Argos, thank you, come here. She wants to know, when can she remove treats from obedience training? So that's an excellent question. Argos, come here. Good boy. Here, So the question is, if you're constantly giving your dog treats, and I get this question a lot, people feel like they're being held hostage. So if you're being held hostage by your dog, because no matter, anytime you want them to do something, you have to give them a treat. I think that's kind of how I take Josie's question. And it's a good question because it's a slippery slope. When you're giving a lot of treats, in the beginning, when you're training your dog and you want them to perform a command. Hi Argos, come here. My neighbors just got home next door, so the dogs are in the bedroom barking at the neighbors. Hi Argos, that's a good boy. Yes, good boy. So when you're training your dog and you're using treats as a lure, so like if you're teaching them to sit or down, and you're using the treat as a lure or as a reward for doing the command, what you're doing is rewarding them at that moment for the action. At some point, though, your dog learns the command. They understand what the word means and they understand what you want them to do, whether you're using a hand signal or a verbal command. And some dogs, usually the smarter ones, will look at you like, I know what you want me to do, but I don't see a treat in your hand, so I think I'm going to hold out until you get that treat. And then you go get the treat out of the cabinet and give them the treat, and then they see the treat, so they'll do the command. So it's almost like they're reverse training. So they're training us to then go ahead and always have a treat for them in order for them to complete the command. So it's not an easy answer as to when you can start doing that. So what I usually recommend to my clients is, in the beginning, obviously when they're learning a command, you want to reward them as much as possible for that behavior that you're asking for. So they're getting rewarded, they are excited about doing it for you, and it's fun. Once you feel like they've learned the command, then what you can do is start to give them a treat randomly. So maybe every, like you ask them to do it twice, and the second time you ask them to give them the treat, or you give it to them once, then the next time you ask them to give it again, and then you skip 2 times where you ask them to do the command and you don't give them a reward as far as food goes, and then the third, the next time after that you reward them. So you're basically giving them a random reward. It's not predictable. Like if you gave them a treat every other time, they could figure that pattern out. So you want to try and keep it as random as possible. And then when you are not giving them a treat, what you want to do is give them a lot of praise and try and use that as the reward instead of food. So give them a lot of love and praise when they do the command, but that's the reward, not the treat. So once you can start randomly rewarding them, then you can just start to kind of phase it out, but you never really want to phase it out 100%, because at some point you're untraining the command. And I spend time with my dogs, no matter how old they are, doing refresher training. So whether we go and take a class somewhere for a refresher, or we're doing work at home, I will do refresher work with them, because dogs, as they get older, just like us, we get sedentary and lazy and set in our ways. So you want to reintroduce the reward to keep them engaged and keep the command more reliable. So hopefully that helps answer your question in between the barking, Josie. Of course, the neighbors have been quiet all day, but as soon as I turn on the Facebook Live, all kinds of activity. Okay, so our next question is from Annette from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And so we had a back and forth a little bit, so I'm going to summarize her question for you. But basically, she's just started training her dog. She's got a French Bulldog that she started training to bells to go outside to go potty. So, and she said he's doing really well, and they're having very few accidents. But now he seems to be using the bell because he just wants to go outside and sunbathe, or check out the yard. So she's like, when how do I know when he has to go to the bathroom versus when he just wants to go out and lay in the sun? So the bells are a great way to teach your dog to have an audible warning that your dog needs to go outside. So if you find yourself, if you're potty training your dog, no matter how old they are, and you don't have that audible warning that they want to go potty, then what you want to do is make sure that you are, when you use the bell, you got to let them out every single time they ring it. Okay, so the way you train it is you hang the bell on a door, and you use the door that you take your dog out to go potty, and you only want to use one door for potty time when you're training them on this. So that whatever door you take them out, make sure you take them out at that door all the time, and then that's where you hang the bells. Then when your dog has to go to the bathroom, you go over to the door, and before you touch the door, you can ring the bell with your hand. Okay, so you just nudge the bell so it makes noise, and then you touch the doorknob and open the door. So what you're doing is teaching your dog a sequence. The sequence is first the bell rings, then the door magically opens, and then I go outside. So then what will happen is your dog will start to beat you to it, and they'll start to ring the bell, and then they'll wait for the doorknob to magically open. So it gives you an audible warning that your dog has to go outside, which is nice depending on your house. And some dogs are very quiet about it. When they have to go outside, they just sit and stare at the door, or they just sit and stare at you, and you have to be aware enough to be cued into that when they give you the, they're doing the little potty dance, the doggy potty dance, but it's not always as obvious to us. So that's what the bells, that's how you do it, and the bells work really well for that. But the downside to the bells is there's a novelty phase, okay? And the novelty phase is every time they want to go outside, whether or not they have to go to the bathroom, they ring the bell. Unfortunately, when you're training your dog, in order to have the audible warning, because frankly, the audible warning is for us, it's not for them, okay? Them being housebroken is for our benefit. They could care less about it. They'd be perfectly happy to go to the bathroom in the house for the rest of their life. So it's for our benefit. So we really want to encourage that behavior. So to get through the novelty phase, you have to take them out every time they ring the bell, even though you know that they probably don't have to go to the bathroom. And what you want to do is wait until you've been about 2 months of accident-free time. So if your dog has been accident-free for 2 months, then you can start to look at, okay, well maybe my dog really doesn't have to go to the bathroom because they were out 20 minutes ago and they went and they just want to go outside and lay in the sun. So I'm going to ignore the bell that time. But you can't ignore the bell until you've been accident-free, because again, that's for our benefit. So you got to hang in there. Luckily, this time of year is an easy time of year to do that. It's not as bad this time of year to have to go outside and every time your dog rings the bell when you're home, versus January or February if you live somewhere where you get a nice winter. So I would hang in there, Annette, and just grin and bear it, because the other side of this will be a housebroken dog with no accidents. So take them out when they ring the bell. And what you can also do is when you do go out, I do recommend to my clients when you're housebreaking, is have a time frame that you're comfortable with. So my personal time frame is 5 minutes. So when I'm housebreaking a puppy, I will take them outside on leash and wait 5 minutes. I'm very boring. Don't do any interaction with them. Don't look at them. Don't talk to them. You want them to focus on sniffing and finding a place to go to the bathroom. So you wait that personal time limit. And then if they didn't go to the bathroom, you take them back in the house and you put them in their crate or their pen, wherever you're keeping them, so that that's their area, the smaller space that you keep them in that encourages them to hold their bladder or their bowels. And so by having a personal time limit, and mine's 5 minutes because I hate winter, so I am not going to be outside for more than 5 minutes in the winter waiting for my dogs to go to the bathroom. So that might help you in that if you start to put a personal time limit on it, so that when you take your dog out, if you have to do it frequently, at least you're not out for that long. And you could make it, you could make it 2 minutes if you want. Whatever you want to make it, you can make it. You just want to be consistent with it. So that way, if you do have to go outside frequently when you're home, at least it's not a huge amount of time that you're not being dragged around the yard and sniffing every blade of grass. So applying a personal time limit to the amount of time you spend outside is might be helpful to keep your puppy from totally torturing you with the bells. But the bells are a good idea, so I'm glad to hear that they're starting to work. So just hang in there, and let's make sure that that you grin and bear it for a little bit longer. Again, 2 months. 2 months of accident-free is what you really want to do. So hopefully that answers your questions, and thank you guys for sending those in. And for anybody else who has questions, please make sure you either email me or you can private message me or direct message me your questions, and I will be sure to answer them next Thursday when we do the live. Okay? Thanks, everybody. I hope everyone has a great night and enjoy what hopefully will be a beautiful weekend. Good night.